jale.
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says 3 times, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. 3 times means giving too much stress. Just like we sometimes say, do this, do this, do this. That means no more denial. Finish. All stress. So as soon as one thing is 3 times stress, that means final.
Vihita bohitra chari tamakhedam kesamadritam kesamadritam nina sarira jaya jagadisha hare.
So the last picture of Varaha that you saw from 1975, it was from the 5th canto, which has the description of the universe in there and the situation of the planetary system. The canto which the flat earthers, the so-called Hare Krishna devotee flat earthers, with their guru Tamil Krishna Goswami, the rabbi. This is the book that they tried to use to prove the flat earth. Of course, as I have explained, they're basically giving it an indirect interpretation on this 5th canto. They're not giving the direct meaning which one can understand from the dictionary definition, which is the way that we do understand the Shastra. The Shastra has to be understood in the direct method, not by giving some interpretation. Nowhere in the Bhagavatam is the earth described as flat. But the point I'm making is that the 5th canto, which Srila Prabhupada approved this Varaha with the earth globe, the third picture that you saw from 75, that's from the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. And in these pictures that you're observing of Srila Prabhupada now, he is holding that Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto in his hand, and in that book there is the picture of Varaha, and Prabhupada is looking so pleased with this 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. There is no way that Srila Prabhupada would approve a picture which didn't fit the description of Shastra. That will be proved in the following quotations that I'll show you. Okay, Hare Krishna, these are 3 letters by Srila Prabhupada to 3 of his disciples who were engaged in painting pictures for his books, and in these letters he's given them various instructions and guidance how to paint the pictures exactly according to Shastra. I'm not going to read the whole letters, you can look at them yourself, you can pause the videos and read them, but what I want to do is read a particular section of each letter. In this one to Prabhupada to Jadharani in 1974, he's saying 6, he's talking about, he's making different points, 7 or 8 points. So point 6, of Krishna and Balaram fighting as bulls is completely rejected by me. It is not good. You have made it demoniac. Make them as they are themselves, as boys fighting. Never show like this. Everything is there in the Krishna book. Don't imagine. So here we're seeing that. Sorry about that. Here we're seeing that Prabhupada is not approving of something because Jadharani's painted something according to her imagination. She's not painted it according to Shastra. Prabhupada wants all the pictures in his book painted according to the description in the Shastra. That means nothing can be in his books which is not in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we couldn't have a globe earth if the earth wasn't a globe, right? You couldn't have Varaha holding a globe if that wasn't described in Shastra. And we will look at the Shastra, the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We look at various parts of the Bhagavatam where the description of Varaha with the earth globe is there, and we'll see that the pictures perfectly correspond with the description of Shastra. And here we see Jadharani has painted a picture which doesn't correspond with the Krishna book, the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. She's painted something according to her imagination, and Prabhupada's completely rejected that. So Prabhupada, if the earth wasn't a globe, he would have completely rejected it, because it wouldn't have been in line with the 5th canto. Especially that third picture from 75, that went in the 5th canto. And in the 5th canto there's a description of the universe and all the planets and the planetary systems. So if the earth was a flat plane like these flat earthers say, then Prabhupada wouldn't have approved a picture of Varaha holding a globe. He couldn't do it because it wouldn't fit the description of the Shastra. It would have been imagination. If the earth is not a globe, then to paint it as a globe is imagination. Prabhupada's books cannot have pictures which are imaginary. That we can see from this letter here. The next one, to Shukadev 76, he's talking to him different things, and he says the Panchatattva should not have long hair. It should only come to their shoulders, as you have shown in the drawing. Please correct this. There's a picture of Krishna playing with the cowherd boys, and he has hair going down to the back of his back. And that picture was corrected, and Krishna's hair comes up to his shoulders. I have that picture, two versions of that picture, one with the long hair and then one with the short. That's a picture of Krishna. Here Prabhupada's saying that the Panchatattva, Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, their hair should be just shoulder length. It shouldn't go down their back like a hippie or something. Please correct this. Again, this is another example of Prabhupada not approving a picture that is an exact representation of the Lord and the devotees. And this one here is to Muralidhar 74, and he's talking about giving him instructions how to paint here. You can stop this and read this. All different instructions how the painting should be and how people should look. And then at the end Prabhupada is saying to him, feel free to write to me if there are further questions, so that our paintings are completely bonafide by the parampara. So this is the key instruction. All the paintings in Prabhupada's books have to be bonafide, completely bonafide by parampara. That means no picture can be an imagination. If the earth is not a globe, it cannot exist in Srila Prabhupada's books. A picture of Varaha holding a globe cannot exist, because that wouldn't be parampara. If the earth is a flat plane, Prabhupada cannot authorize that picture. Especially he authorized it 3 times. It appears, I think, in the 2nd canto, in the 3rd canto, and it appears in the 5th canto. So these pictures, what was it? I think I wrote it down. Anyway, I thought I wrote it down where it was, but one of them appears in the 2nd canto, one in the 3rd canto, and one in the 5th canto. So these are the law books for the next 10,000 years. These books are law books. They have to be parampara. Every single picture in these in Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada would look at it and make sure it was completely bona fide by parampara. It could not be a speculation. So if the earth is not a globe, Prabhupada cannot authorize a picture of Varaha holding a globe. It is not possible. It would be speculation, imagination. It would not be parampara, it would not be bona fide. But the fact that he did approve pictures of Varaha with the earth globe, and he approved it 3 times, 3 times means to give too much stress, means there is no denial, means it is final. The earth is a globe, and we'll see in a second. I will show you some descriptions of Varaha with the earth globe, and you will see from those descriptions that the paintings that Prabhupada approved perfectly match the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no flat earth. It does not exist. It is an imagination. It is an indirect interpretation on the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto by the flat earthers. This is an offense. This is rascaldom. This is not parampara, it is not authorized. The earth is not a flat plane. Neither is Bhumandal a flat plane. In ISKCON, they say the earth is a globe, but the rest of Bhumandala is a flat plane. No, Prabhupada said that he said that the other planets he said first of all, he said it's a planetary system. Bhumandala is a planetary system. So Prabhupada said we have to take the direct definition of Shastra as it is spoken by the authorities. Sukadev, Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, they all describe Bhumandala as a planetary system. The other 8 Varshas of Jambudvip, they're described as lower heavenly planets. Prabhupada describes them as planets. Their dimensions in Srimad Bhagavatam is only one dimension, which means it's a globe. It doesn't have length, breadth and width. It has one dimension, which means it's a globe. So this is all speculation, indirect interpretation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nowhere in all of Prabhupada's teachings does he ever describe the earth as a flat plane. Neither does he describe Bhumandala as a flat plane. It is described as a planetary system. Planetary system. Okay, so here this is a section from my book that I'm working on called Varaha. It's called The Flat Earth Deception, the Vedic View. This is section 9, Varaha and the Earth Globe. What is the difference between these pictures? Well, this picture was completely rejected by Prabhupada. If you read, you'll be able to download the PDF of this article, and you'll see that Prabhupada rejects this picture. And this picture, Prabhupada, like I've just said, he approved it along with 2 others. So now let us look at some quotes about Lord Varaha and his rescuing the earth globe from the bottom of the Gabadaka ocean. Again, we will follow the Vedic process. Oh, look at that, 3 S's. Should take the S off. And take the direct meaning, Mukhya Vriti, of these verses from the book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Lord Brahma said, when the ultimately powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Gabadaka, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. Purport: since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods or the Vaishnavas are always the 2 classes of living beings to dominate the planets of the universe. Lord Brahma is the first demigod and Hiranyaksha is the first demon in the universe. Under certain conditions, only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air, and as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down in the Gabadaka ocean, which covers half the universe. The other half is the spherical dome within which the innumerable planetary systems exist. The floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes, and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit all from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Hiranyaksha, the great exploiter of the gold rush, and the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into the Gabadaka ocean. The Lord, as the maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from the waters, or the water of the Gabadaka. Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnav poet, sang as follows. I'll just read the English. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusks, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of fanciful men who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances like the above mentioned occasion, and the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of the many cheap incarnations may take note of the factual incarnation of God as a gigantic boar with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create disturbance in the methodical functions of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this version. Srimad Bhagavatam 271. And here's my note. So in the synonyms, we find the following. Shiti Tala, the planet Earth. Then in the verse we also find just to lift the planet Earth. This is very clear if we take the direct meaning. In the purport, Prabhupada talks about the floating condition of the Earth planet. For more information on this topic, please see section 11, a hollow Earth globe, floating due to gas coming from petrol, says Prabhupada. So again, this is totally clear from both the verse and purport. The Earth is a floating planet that fell in the Gabadaka ocean due to Hiranyaksha taking gold from it. Thus he disturbed the inner constitution of the globe and its weightless position in space. Also we find Prabhupada quoting the following from Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, in the purport. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusks, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. How could the Earth look like the moon if it was flat? Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Translation. My dear Lord, you are always unborn. Once in the form of the original boar, you rescued me from the waters in the bottom of the universe. Through your own energy, you created all the physical elements, the senses, the heart for the maintenance of the world. Purport. This refers to the time when Lord Krishna appeared as the supreme boar, Varaha, and rescued the earth, which had been merged in water. The Asura Hiranyaksha had dislocated the earth from its orbit and thrown it beneath the waters of the Gabadaka ocean. Then the Lord, in the shape of the original boar, rescued the earth. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:17-34. Note. Again, very clear if we take the direct meaning. Dislocated the earth from its orbit and thrown it beneath the waters of the Gabadaka ocean. Okay, next one. Translation. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hoofs, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Purport. The word Rasayam is sometimes interpreted to mean Rasatala, the lower planetary system, but that is not applicable in this connection. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tala, Atala, Talatala, Vitala, Rasatala, Patala, etc. Therefore, the Earth cannot be situated in the Rasatala planetary system. It is described in the Vishnu Dharma. Therefore, the Lord found the Earth on the bottom of the Gabadaka ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:13-30. Note, again, how is it possible for the nearly 4 billion mile wide flat earth to fall into the Gabadaka ocean and rest on the bottom? So, translation, the next one. The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his own energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. While the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. Purport. Those who are demons cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead floated the earth on the water, but to devotees of the Lord, this is not a very wonderful act. Not only the earth, but many, many millions of planets are floating in the air. And this floating power is endowed upon them by the Lord. There is no other possible explanation. The materialists can explain The materialists can explain that the planets are floating by the law of gravitation, but the law of gravitation works under the control or direction of the Supreme Lord. That is the version of the Bhagavad Gita which confirms by the Lord's statement that behind material laws or nature's laws and behind the growth, maintenance and production and evolution of all the planetary systems, behind everything is the Lord's direction. The Lord's activities could be appreciated only by the demigods headed by Brahma, and therefore when they saw the uncommon prowess of the Lord in keeping the earth on the surface of the water, they showered flowers on him in appreciation of his transcendental activities. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.18.8. Note, the picture of Varaha that Prabhupada approved for his Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the first two. The first two show that the earth is on the water. If you go back and look at those pictures, give me a sec. This picture here, you see, the earth is floating on the water, and here the earth is floating on the water. This one is where he's carrying it. This is like it said, it looked like the moon with spots. So this picture perfectly represents the description we just read, and here these two pictures they perfectly represent what we were just reading. Let me just go back to that. The picture of Varaha that Prabhupada approved, two of them actually, for his Srimad Bhagavatam perfectly represents the sloka above. The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his own energy in the form of the ability to float on water. So if we go to that again, you see how they're floating on the water. The earth planet is there floating on the water. The 72 Bhagavatam approved picture, 74 approved picture. So these two pictures are perfectly representing what we're just reading, and this one represents what we read prior. So let's go back. Translation. Sri Shonika inquired, O Sutta Goswami, after the planet Earth was again situated in its orbit, there you go, it's got an orbit, it's floating in its circumambulating Dhruvaloka, the pole star, what did Swayambhuva Manu do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on? Purport. The appearance of the Lord as the firstborn incarnation occurred during the time of Swayambhuva Manu, whereas the present age is in the period of Vaivashvata Manu. Each Manu's period lasts 72 times the cycle of 4 ages, and one cycle of ages equals 4,320,000 solar years. Thus 4,320,000 times 4,320,000 times 72 solar years is the reign of one Manu. In each Manu's period there are many changes in many ways, and there are 14 Manus within one day of Brahma. It is understood here that Manu creates scriptural regulations for the salvation of the conditioned souls who come to the material world for material enjoyment. The Lord is so kind that any soul who wants to enjoy in the material world is given full facility for enjoyment, and at the same time he is shown the path of salvation. Shonika Rishi therefore inquired from Sutta Goswami, what did Swayambhuva Manu do after the reinstatement of the earth in its orbital situation? After the reinstatement of the earth in its orbital situation. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.21. Note, again, situated in its orbit. Very clear. The earth is a globe, it floats, and it has its orbit. Very, very clear. If we take the direct meaning of Shastra as given to us by Shukadev, Srila Prabhupada, and if we don't do that, we want to interpret, that's another thing, that's speculation. Prabhupada, and there is Varaha incarnation, he picked up the whole earth on the tusk. How much big the Varaha animal was to show that it can pick up the whole earthly planet just like a ball. He cannot imagine such big animals. That's a philosophy discussion on Darwin with Shyama Sundar. So here Prabhupada's clearly saying that Varaha picked up the earth and it was like a ball, which is what the picture is showing. It's all very clear, for those who are simple and honest and they accept the authority of Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam. But those who have an agenda, those who want to interpret Shastra and present their own concoctions, and they want to push forward this Talmudic idea that the earth is flat, then they can take the Bhagavatam and they can spin it and give their own interpretations, but they cannot actually prove it, not with direct interpretation of Shastra, which is the way we have to understand Shastra. Where is that for you all? Direct meaning. Anyway, you can read this article. I'm a little bit tired to continue. In this article, you will see Mukhya Vritti, the direct meaning, Gona Vritti, the indirect meaning. You know, so how did I start this off? I'm saying here, this article will prove conclusively that the flat earth paradigm does not exist anywhere in Prabhupada's books. It exists only as an indirect interpretation of the fifth canto, or in other words, as a mental concoction. Flat earth is a mental concoction, and a simple honest person would easily see that, well, if Prabhupada had proved these three pictures in Srimad Bhagavatam of Varaha lifting the globe, the earth globe, then this must be how the earth is. Prabhupada's not going to approve three pictures that are not representative of Srimad Bhagavatam. That would make Prabhupada an interpreter, a speculator. If the earth was flat, and if Shukadeva is describing the earth as flat and the Bhagavatam is describing it as a flat plane, then Prabhupada would be, by approving these three pictures, he would be speculating, he would be presenting an imagination that he cannot do. So that's it. That's the end of my video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Mother Bhumi. Jai the globe earth.